Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. Our time together is going to be about 15 minutes, give or take. And in this admittedly short form podcast, in addition to sharing my unsolicited thoughts on our industry, I also share from my SEO testing, field data observations, and my guess is that unlike the early seasons, season 6 may be some of the most SEO this podcast has ever shared. Okay, are you ready? Here goes. Welcome to season 6, episode 5 of Confessions of an SEO. This week I have what maybe we can call a field observation field trip, but then it's got a lab portion. So I guess this is a field observation indexation test. And yes, there will be a quiz at the end. I'm guessing this means that there'll be a follow-up. If I don't do it as a whole podcast, right? It may be a sort of what's up with that segment, so you kind of know what happened. Now, maybe this thing will, to all extents and purposes, flop, but that's the beauty of testing. My best advice is do not get attached to outcomes, just stay curious. I'm going to tell you about this page today. I'm still going to keep things unidentified, like the domain name and the page topic and the URL. These days, as a tester, you really have to invest in your test domains. They have to be real sites. And that's part of the reasons why the very specific testing protocols we used back in 2015 don't provide anything more than what we, I guess, would say it provides inconclusive results. So we've had to modify some of our testing protocols. And maybe that will happen in this case. But I'm thinking let's say if it's not a clear result, there'll be supplemental tests that will be able to account for any inconclusive results. Now, this particular page I'm going to tell you about came to my attention through a recent set of server logs. Like I said, this is a test site that's not being actively tested on the moment. It's more of like a site just sort of floating out there. Nothing special. I do know it gets a lot of LLM traffic, a lot of those bots, lots of Bing, and less Google than everyone else because it's not being published on. On one particular day, specifically January 26th, Google decided to spend some crawling resources on this site and on that particular page. It did an HTML crawl. That's just where it pulls, just what it can see. Then it went back and it did a full render crawling. That's how you know it wasn't just a meaningless glance. It's more of a, hey, we haven't done this for a while. Let's see what they got. It was the mobile Googlebot, the one that is intimately involved in content discovery and rediscovery. It's like the bot any kind of new content meets, the first time it hits the indexation system. Now, this was a Chrome build. The current one is, it ends in 192. That'll make sense if you look at your server logs, but if you have any questions, you can ask me. But anyway, this Chrome 192 did both types of crawls that I described. When I see that, that is different than it used to be. And I'm talking in years, right? Not just last week. We've been in mobile first indexing since October 2023 and seemingly mobile only crawling and rendering. Now that got me curious. What was Google doing crawling that particular page? You'd think a recent crawl, the next stop would be search in Search Console to see if you can find a little something. Okay, so I went, and to my surprise, the message was page is not indexed and URL is unknown to Google. Oof. Why you gotta be so mean? Unknown to Google? I know you just crawled the damn URL. And to add insult to injury, further down it says no referring sitemaps detected. And I knew that was just outright untrue because it's right there in the sitemap and has always been in the sitemap. I know that very often that data is not up to date right away. So I was patient and I waited a couple of days, 2 days, in fact. And that's not a random time frame because we know for sure, and Google tells us and we can see it for ourselves, there's a delay in the reported data in Search Console as well as other Google products of about 48 hours. So on January 28th, and again confirmed by server logs, Google crawled the same URL again, a page where nothing had been changed on it. I go immediately to Search Console. And what did it say? It's not so unknown to Google anymore. It says page is not indexed, crawled, currently not indexed. Well, that's a little better. From we don't know who you are to, yeah, we called you, but don't expect a call back. So now I want to go see this page, but I've done this before, so I wanted to check something else. I know it's easy to think we can learn more from a thing that is working. I come from a school of learning the idea that sometimes it's the things that do not work. And that's why I love forensic SEO. But it's an often overlooked method of learning. I found that if 99.9% of people are rushing towards something, if you test in the other direction, sometimes the learning is exponentially more valuable, right? I don't just want to get a page indexed. I want to know why a page won't get indexed, because then you know what to do. The page was published on September 23rd, 2023. And was initially indexed. And I went through the coverage reports from 2024 and 2025. And these are in Search Console. And those are those index page reports that update every third or fourth day. And you can download and get your most current list of all your URLs that Google says are indexed. But I hadn't been pulling all of them consistently, so it was about 12 or so various coverage reports. And I went through them to find the ones that had mention of this page. According to the reports, I'm just going to list these dates, don't worry about them. But basically, September 14th, 2024, September 20th, same year, and then October 3rd, 2025, this page was indexed in those reports. In the live Search Console data, it goes back 16 months. Friday, October 11th, 2024 was the last time this particular page was served. You can see that, in the graph. And sometime, I guess somewhere between the last date of Friday, October 11th, 2024, and between that and February 12th, 2025, the status on this page changed from indexed to crawled but not indexed. And obviously somewhere from that, it went to, we don't even know you anymore. Now I've seen enough. Now I'm like, what is on this page? And by the time the page rendered, I saw it. I'm going to talk about some of the previous episodes that talk about the things I'm going to talk about now. So I'm not going to try and go through everything again. So if you want to know what they are, I'll tell you which episodes. Specifically, 3 episodes back, I talked about content chunking. There's the episode after that where I demonstrated what I meant about what does it look like when you chunk your content. Going back to what this page looked like, it was absolutely beautiful. She had no tags. And it was like a wall of unbroken content. Other than the H1, it was all paragraph tagged text. 2,600 words of it. No wonder. I've seen this before. So, okay, we know what to do. And so this is the test. The premise here is that without enough of the header tags, the H2s, 3s, and 4s, this content is very expensive for Google to have to figure out. So when you add in your header tags, you create these segments. And basically that, if I put it into just plain words, it is the header tag ratio to the number of words. If you're hearing this for the first time, I swear, if you go back to those earlier episodes, you'll catch it now. But there is a ratio that is basically 0.10. If you have 2,600 words, you need 26 tags. And I know you think that's a lot, but when Google ad nauseum says, write content for people, not search engines, this is the type of structure that is easier for their systems to read, and it assists in the generative features of AI so that they're able to vectorize your content so it can be retrieved quickly, less costly than a page that has no header tags. Back in season 5, episode 47, that explains what vectorization is and how AI uses the header tags to catch the drift on our page sections and store it so it can be retrieved. Looking at the pages I did, I knew exactly what to do. So there are 12 H2s and 14 H3s, and I swear to God, it didn't look like too many tags. I didn't chop up those 25 words into 4 separate pages. This research that I'm sharing with you, it led to the development of a new feature in Vizzex. Vizzex is the first helpful content analysis tool. And I've been telling you about this for a while. Vizzex will provide suggested header tags, so you're not racking your brain on exactly what you should use, which is how I had to do it in this test, right? So this is not a site that has Vizzex on it, so I'm going to go ahead and just figure that out. Now, before I forget, and we're still on the topic of Vizzex, the beta is so full at this point, and the feedback we're getting, as well as our own testing results for our own content, is so positive. And, it doesn't mean we're not finding things that we need to tweak. We're definitely doing that too. Getting things into the index, getting them served, and then ultimately cited by AI. Now, the 90-day free trial is going away. Only way that you'll be eligible for a 90-day trial is to get into the beta right now. If you go past this Thursday, which is February 5th, a couple of days from now, you're still going to get a free trial, except it'll just be reduced to 30 days. Going back to what I'm talking about today, I've documented this process, and I'm going to be writing it up like a test write-up, win, lose, or draw. Just so you know, I am an impressive tester, which means I have a lot of tests that fail to provide conclusive results, which just means I then go back to the drawing board and craft a better test and run that one and rinse and repeat until I get a signal that I can attribute to the factor. And the reason it's impressive, like I say, is that I don't take no as an answer, and I will test and test again. So obviously the story of this page isn't finished just yet. It's possible nothing happens. It's possible that Google crawls and nothing happens. It's possible Google crawls and it moves to indexed and not served. And if that happens, I have some additional tests that may or may not include this page. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I think part of my mission here is to put actionable heuristics to the phrase, your content just isn't good enough to be indexed. I know people say that and they mean to be helpful, but I don't think that helps. We need to know, what does it mean to be helpful? I mean, in terms, very specific terms. Sure, I bet there are pages that just won't get indexed no matter what. And I'll bet you there are pages that get indexed with less than what I'm talking about. And those would have to be edge cases. But I believe I know there's a huge middle to that bell curve. And if great content is just missing structure, well, you don't have to believe me. You should try it for yourself. And I promise you, I'm not wasting your time, says the SEO who tests indexation daily. That's it for me this week. Do yourself a favor, get into the Vizzex beta for WordPress prior to February 5th. You will still be eligible for the 90 days free trial for the world's first helpful content analysis tool. It's also available for HubSpot. And if you get in afterwards, at least on the WordPress version, you will receive a 30-day free trial. The AMA that's going to be happening on February 5th is going to be exclusive to those in the beta, so get in there now. Check out Indexilla, now the exclusive provider of the crawl and no crawl indexation reports from my research, like what I just shared today. And Indexilla is my indexer tool. So you can find all of this at indexilla.io, because now more than ever, indexation of your content into Google and Bing is essential. Don't leave it to chance. Thank you for listening, and until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.